My name is Brad Biddle. To give you a little bit of background on me and how my bird career started, I got into the chicken business at the ripe age of 10. I got me some laying hens and I started peddling eggs to all the older ladies in the community. And then when I grew up on a farm, and when I was a senior in high school, I had run out of college prep classes. My mama made sure that I knew from the day I was born that I was going to college. So I ran out of college courses to take, and despite the fact that I was a farm boy, I took ag, but they made me take freshman ag. So the class project was building a bluebird house. Well, in the summers I worked for a contractor, so I'd been building houses for 2 years. And the ninth graders were grumbling about building the bluebird house, so I said, okay, teacher left the room, I said, okay, here's what we're gonna do. Anybody that doesn't want to build a bluebird house, you give me $5. Now $5 was a lot of money back in 1988 when you was a teenager. I said, you give me $5, I'll build your bluebird house, I'll guarantee you an A on it, and I get to keep the bluebird house. I had 8 of them, took me up on the offer, so I wound up with 9 bluebird boxes. So I've had a bluebird trail on our farm since 87, 88. So then I got a degree in poultry science, which is a 4-year degree in chickens. I can tell you more useless information about the biology and anatomy of a chicken than you could possibly ever want to know. So that leads me to this. This is my purple martin colony, it's part of it. I have 108 gourds in my backyard. I have 54 more down at the barn. The last nest check I did, I had 148 gourds with eggs or nestlings in them. I had, going by memory, over 700 either eggs or babies. Here's what we're going to discuss today. Predator guards and why you need them. How many Sand Mountain folks we got? Not many. Y'all ever seen a predator guard on a gourd rack? I hadn't until I got started doing this on the internet. When I talk to people about predator guards, they say a snake can't climb a metal pole. Snake can climb anything it wants to. We're also going to talk briefly about mentoring and its effect on the purple martin. Also going to see if any of y'all locals would be interested in getting a local organization started. And then I'm going to talk about our Facebook group when we get finished with that. All right. Those cute little cuddly raccoons. Can we turn the lights on? Where'd it go?
They're off.
Oh, that's the skylight.
That's the skylight.
That's kind of hard to see. But I found a picture on the internet of a raccoon climbing a 2-inch galvanized steel pole to get to a purple martin house. One photo was it climbing the pole, and the next photo it had its leg running the martin house. Couldn't get permission to use that photo. So here's some of one climbing a bird feeder. Got those pictures from Kathy Lane out of Virginia. And there's one just about to try to go up a gourd rack pole, and I got that one from Kathy Freeze out of Missouri. So yes, raccoons can climb a steel pole. And so can snakes. That photo on the left from Mike Dingman, that's up north somewhere. That's a T14 house that has an attached baffle to it. I don't know how easy it is to see, but there is a seam in that baffle. And that snake's going right up that seam. The one on the right's washed out by the lawnmower lights, but that is a girl in Mobile. It's actually a video. It just makes it a little easier to see that it actually is a snake. There is no winch cable. There is no rope on that pole. Most people that say they can't climb a steel pole, they say, well, they can climb yours because you got a winch on. That one's climbing a slick steel pole. As you can see, it's hard to see, but it's not having any trouble at all. There it's coming back down. She started last year and had 1 pair of martins in a heath house, had a stovepipe baffle with snake netting and caught the snake that ate her only nest of eggs on the way down the pole. So she got in and out of the Martin landloading real quickly. The success story of that is, that's when I began talking with her. She put up a gourd rack and has 22 out of 25 gourds with eggs or nestlings. And she was coming today, but the tropical storm kind of hampered that. This is my setup at home. I use our electric fence as a predator guard. It has been defeated one time. That was last year. I watch my martins every day with binoculars. I do nest checks. I knew there were 3 gourds on one cross arm that didn't have martins going to them. And I knew they had martins, and I knew they had eggs because I had done a nest check the previous Saturday. So I go let my gourd rack down, and I looked in the first gourd, and there was a piece of snake skin in it. Now I didn't say I was sharp as tool in the shed, so I thought, I've been doing this 18 years and I've never seen a purple martin use a piece of snake skin as nesting material. Wonder where those eggs went. Took it off the next one. There was a piece of snake skin in that one. That's when reality set in. Took it off the next one. There was a piece of snake skin in that one. So I reached down and bumped my predator guard, and I didn't get shocked. So I got on the phone and I called my dad, who is my next door neighbor, and I said, Daddy, the fence is off. No, it's not. Yes, it is. I just touched it. Son, it's not off. I hadn't unplugged it. I said, well, the fence behind my house is dead. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. 2 days ago, when I went to the mailbox, I could hear the fence arcing on one of your gourd racks, so I unhooked the leg of it that goes behind your house. I said, Daddy, I really wish you'd told me. Well, son, the cows are not out. It doesn't matter. I said, no, the cows aren't out, but now I've got 3 pairs of martins that are no longer going to be with me because the snake ate their eggs. So I immediately raised the rack back up. I made a repair. The wire that went under the ground had gotten nicked somehow. I made a repair, checked to make sure the snake was not in any gourd on the rack because sometimes they'll sleep in the gourd. It was not, and the snake never went back up the pole. And if any of y'all have ever had snake problems, you know that means that electric guard worked. Because once a snake starts going up your gourd rack or your house pole, it's not going to stop until you have nothing left for it to eat. People worry a lot about hawks. Hawks will catch your martins. Hawks will not destroy your colony unless you have some kind of terrible situation where you've got a lot of trees close by and the martins can't get away. The colony destroyers are snakes, raccoons, and owls. If you've got any of those 3 or all 3, your days as a martin landlord are few. But this is how I do mine. I take on a round pole. This is a 2-inch Schedule 40 pipe. This is 2.5-inch electric PVC conduit. Split it lengthwise, put it around the pole. Then I take a piece of 3-inch, split it lengthwise, alternate the seam so it doesn't arc through the pole, hold it all on with hose clamps. Very simple setup. I have shocked myself letting my gourd racks down before, but if I'd turned it off before I did that, I wouldn't. But I'd forget to plug it back up, then I'd have a snake problem. So this, the young lady that took the video of the snake climbing the pole, this is her new setup. It's a stovepipe guard, and it has bird netting around the top. It's a very ingenious design. If any of you want to see close-up pictures or better pictures, it's a perfect picture on my computer, but it's real hard to see up there. That is a great setup. I do not believe that a snake can bypass that because those arms are 18 inches long, so you've got a 3-foot circle of multiple layers of snake netting that I do not believe they can get through. All right, mentoring people for purple martins. right back there with the cowboy hat on sits one of my Purple Martin mentors. I was in my 30s when I started, and I met Mr. Thurman Sever on Purple Martin Clubhouse. It used to be a website that's no longer active, and he helped me a tremendous amount. He knew what I needed to do, and I was smart enough to listen and do it, and I owe much of my success to him and others that helped me. I had a real life Purple Martin landlord that lived across that hill. He's no longer with us, but he was all round hose. And I started with all starling resistant hose because we have starlings they're terrible. But I would encourage all of you that are active landlords to help people that are new learn what to do. Because if you try to do this stumbling around by yourself, it's going to take you decades to learn what you could learn in a year if you had a mentor or if you mentored somebody. So I'm not going to read, y'all can read that. That's why we need more mentors. I'm not near smart enough to make this little map right here. Kathy Freeze in Missouri has one of these for her. She has a mailing list that she emails out once a month to update on her Purple Martins and suggestions to people. She created this map, okay? Right there in the center of that cluster is a purple dot that's hard to see. That is my colony. That ring, the yellow ring, is a 3-mile radius. That's how close my birds come from, and that's how far some of my SYs, some of my hatchlings this year will be SYs next year. That's how far some of them migrate. The larger circle is 19-mile radius. That's the average distance of migration of the SYs. So you can see my one little dot is 19 miles. But by helping those individuals, my colony and I have influenced a whole county and part of another one, and then down in South Alabama. That's what kind of effect we can have helping others attain their goals with Purple Martins. This is Kathy Freeze's example from Missouri. You can see the widespread effects of having a relationship with others, how much it helps the Martins. For any of you that are interested in starting a local organization, and I don't even know what that would begin to look like, we can go, y'all can come to my colony. Joey's volunteered for us to come here and meet. We can meet once a month. We can meet once a quarter. We can meet every 3 weeks. I don't care. We just need to talk about it. So if you're local or local enough and are interested in that, get in touch with me after this is over. I set up a Gmail account just specifically for that. I don't even know how to find my Gmail, but we'll work on it. I'm not going to discuss these issues, but many of them are as important as the other things I've discussed. I know everybody in here hates house sparrows and starlings. If you've got Purple Martins, you hate house sparrows and starlings, and I hate them as bad as you do. Starling resistant entrance holes are very common now. When I started, they were very uncommon. People didn't think they would work. They do work. You can use Purple Martin decoys and dove decoys to help keep you from losing more martins to hawks. Move them around, move them 3 or 4 days a week. Mite control. I hope all of you do something. I use 7. I put in 2 applications a year. I put it in when I start seeing green leaves carried, I know they're about to start laying eggs. I put it in then, and then I wait about a month and I put it in again. And that takes care of them most of the time. If you have a lot of premature jumpers at your colony, it's probably due to mites. Quality of housing, we can beat that one to death. Do we have anybody in here that's trying to get martins that doesn't have martins? 2 people. You know the saying about real estate, location, location, location. It's more important with Martins than it is with real estate. You can sell a house behind a sewage treatment plant eventually, but you're not gonna get Martins if you got a bunch of trees. You need your house in your most open area. You also need it high in elevation. You don't need it off in a hole. One of those dots on the map for my mentees was a guy from down below Boaz. And I used to have a standing agreement with a co-op, and when people would call asking about Purple Martins, they'd just give them my phone number. Well, this guy called and wanted me to come look at his site. Well, he had a nice open front yard, like 4-acre front yard, with not a tree in it. So I pulled in, I thought he said he had a gourd rack. I pulled around behind his driveway, and he did have a gourd rack, but his house was up here. His backyard dropped off, and his gourd rack was down there. The gourds was below the level of my feet, and it was surrounded on the backside by trees. So the guy said, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I want Martin so bad I can't stand it. I said, I can guarantee you get Martin. You gonna guarantee that? I've been trying for 10 years now, I haven't had any. I said, if you do what I tell you to do, I guarantee you'll get Martin. I'll do it. Okay? You dig that gourd rack up, and you put it right in the middle of your front yard. He said, well, if I do that, I can't watch my Martins from my back porch. I said, Art, how's that working out for you now? He said, that's a good point. So he did. He dug up his gourd rack and he put it in his front yard, and he called me a week later and he had Martins. That's how fast it can happen if you've got a wide open area. Are y'all from up north? From here? Where?
Around Ardmore.
Oh, you're in Alabama though.
Yeah.
That's not up north. I'm in Ohio, Canada.
We moved out from
You're
Missouri.
from Ohio. Okay, where in Ohio? South, north, west?
North of Columbus, 30 miles.
I don't know where Columbus is.
Central.
Central Ohio, farming country? Okay, fairly decent population, but Ohio's a little tricky. It may take you a few years, but if you've got an open location, you can get Martins in Ohio. Ohio and Minnesota seem like two of the harder states to get them in, but as long as you're in a rural area, you'll get them. Just keep your fingers crossed. You'll get. How long have you been trying?
This first year.
Okay, good. Do you have Martins? Have you had visitors?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. I'm not a big fan of playing the dawn song or daytime chatter in Alabama because we have such a large Martin population, but that's something that I would try for you. I don't know if you got it, I don't know if you're using that or not, but.
Well, it's quite a ways from the house.
Okay.
And they say, everything I read says they like to be close to the house. So everything, I'd have to have something battery powered.
Right. They do like to be close to humans. I don't know that it has anything to do with a dwelling house. If you spend time out in your yard and around those gourd racks, I really think that's good enough. I mean, I've got, sorry?
We put it back by our pond, is
Okay.
why it's so far from the house.
Okay.
But there are surrounding trees somewhat, but how far are we trying to put it?
It said, everything I read said at least 60 feet, so that's what I went off of.
Is it 60 feet from a tree or a line of trees or a
Well,
circle of
there's
trees?
60 foot that way, and there's one 60 foot that way. And then probably 100 feet of that there's of woods behind it.
Do you have a more open area?
The hayfield.
Put 'em in the best-
Maybe move it out.
Here's my suggestion to everybody. Put it in the best, most open location you've got. And then, once you've got Martins, work on attracting them to where you want them. Don't move the pole. If you get Martins, if you get 4 pairs of Martins next year at your hayfield, and that next year you think, well, I'm gonna move my pole up closer to my house. Bye-bye Martins. They're not following that pole. They're going back to that exact same location. So get Martins and then add another pole to get them to go where you want them to. That's how you pull that off. Anybody else got questions on the tracking? Do you have, what are you using? Both of you?
T14,
Is that what's common in your area?
yeah,
Okay. You got any gourds hanging under it?
no.
put 4 gourds under that house today. Obviously, you can't today. You know what I mean. What about y'all?
I moved mine last year, I was too close to trees, I was probably 50 feet from trees, now I'm over 100. I'm about 20 feet from a garage.
That's not a problem.
But they have been visiting, but I had swallows just nesting
Tree
this
swallows.
year, they're just,
You've got to keep tree swallows out of your gourds, especially when the subadults arrive. They will not. If tree swallows were as big as a chicken, they'd rule the world.
it's funny, the tree swallows are pretty much done.
Yes.
And the martins are starting to land on it, I guess just checking it out, but every morning, every evening, they come land on it.
It's not too late for you to have a nest.
Really?
No, I had nest building last week. It's getting real late. We're like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter,
Yeah.
but it's not impossible for you to still attract martins. I had some last year that didn't fledge until mid-August. That happens every year. I have so many. When I have a domination issue where a male finds 2 gourds, until he's very involved feeding nestlings, another pair can't get in those. So I have late arriving SYs every year that it's getting really close to the cutoff date, but there's still hope. And Ardmore, that's a great location for
I have
martins.
the gourds, I keep them clean and all that, so.
Yeah. Keep the sparrows out, keep the starlings out, and there's a actual protocol on the internet. I don't know how much you get on the internet, but there is a tree swallow protocol where you put tree swallows will not nest closer than 30 feet together. They're territorial. Bluebirds won't nest closer than 300 feet apart. That's not always true. I've got some 105 feet apart. You put up a tree swallow gourd and a bluebird house close to your gourd rack. You don't allow them in your gourd rack. The tree swallows that nest in this gourd over here prevent other tree swallows from claiming a gourd on your gourd rack. And the bluebird that nests in the bluebird house over here prevents other bluebirds from building in you use their territorial nature to your benefit. So there are ways around that. Covered a lot of those. Supplemental feeding, that's something we don't have to do very often in the South. You will definitely need to know what it is when the time comes. My first martin, how many of you participate in the PMCA Scout Report? Okay. I was the first purple dot in North Alabama this year. It's never happened before. First one north of Birmingham. My martin arrived 2 days before the polar vortex. And if it's below 50 degrees for 3 days, your martins are in bad trouble because they only eat flying insects. So I called the bait shop. I got them to order me 1,000 crickets. I had them here the day that the Arctic air came, and I started flipping crickets in front of that martin with a spoon. And I've trained them before, but it's been a long time. This one was smart. Apparently he had, he's probably an engineer or something in Brazil. But within about 10 minutes, I had him catching crickets, and I fed him. I was the only food source he had for 9 days. And he's still at my colony because when we had that cool snap a few weeks ago, there was no danger of the birds dying. I just wanted to get more trained. So I went down there to feed Earl. I named him Earl because he was early. I don't name Martin as a general rule, but he ate 5 superworms is what I transitioned him over to. They're more bang for the buck than crickets. It was cool. He ate 5. Nobody else participated, so I hope he makes it back next year. So I've got one that's trained to eat in case we have that problem again. For those of you who have martins, if you don't offer them supplemental calcium, it really helps them out. It's also used as grit in their gizzard to help them digest food. If you will look right out that door, you can see them picking up eggshells off of that asphalt. They feed them every day. Their neighbor has hen houses, so they have an ample supply of eggshells. importance and purpose of nest checks. I don't know if all of you do nest checks, don't know if any of you do nest checks. But the importance of doing them is to detect problems. I don't do them to go, oh, look how cute those little pink birds, because there's nothing uglier than a baby purple martin. They look like a 100-year-old man that hadn't shaved in a week. So it lets you know what's going on. It lets you know when you have problems. If you have some young ones jump, you know which gorge to put them back into based off their age. Don't you have some of those nest check sheets over there that's got the pictures of the babies and you set the baby on top of it? If y'all don't have one of those, highly, highly recommend getting one. Those pictures are life size. You can take a baby out of the gourd and put it on top of that picture and you'll know how old it is. And that's really a useful tool to know. Like this last sentence says, this list could go on. We could talk about purple martins till tomorrow, and we still wouldn't have covered everything. I am a purple martin fanatic. I obsess over them. I asked Kathy Freeze this spring to help me set up a Facebook group, and we did. The name of it is Purple Martin Fanatics. We launched the site late March. We already have over 500 members, and if you type in Purple Martin groups in the search bar on Facebook, we are the first group that pops up. What that means is Facebook has us ranked number 1 out of all the Purple Martin groups. Not saying that to brag, but what I'm saying is we've got a lot of good landlords that are free about sharing their information, free about advising people on questions. We don't allow arguing, we don't allow cussing, so there's no fighting, no fussing, no drama. You can ask Jean, she's a member. Debbie Jean. I don't know your middle name and I don't know why I said Jean. You can ask Debbie there. So if you're interested, if you're on Facebook, we'd love to have you as a member. If you do join because you were here today, please type in Johnson Jamboree on the membership question. You don't have to type in anything else. Don't bother answering any other questions. I'll approve you. If you type Johnson Jamboree in, I'm gonna approve you. All right. Any questions? I hope. Yes, sir.
You said like the people that you mentor, the birds that return, I think I hatched 170 birds last year. And I've heard that 10% of that population will return to my colony. Now the other 90, do they come somewhere close, or may they stop in Kentucky or Alabama? I live up in Illinois. I just wondered if they come close.
That's what those circles represent.
That's
That's
what I thought.
average. That's average distribution. There have been reports of banded birds being located, like SY birds, second year, being located 120 something miles from where they were raised. The PMCA, I'm not going to go into too much detail, Brian, about how we know this, but the PMCA is pretty spot on. I think their estimate's a little high because I don't think 10% are going to return to your site. I think it's going to be more like 3 or 4%. The survivability of the purple martins from one year to the next due to the migration is not good. You know, we're looking at 55, 60% of the birds that are in my colony now will survive to get back. That means I'm attracting martins from somebody else's colony or birds that weren't successful somewhere last year. I helped a guy that lives 3/4 of a mile from me attract his first martins this year. He called me. He said, hey, I've got my granddaddy's old gourd rack. Do you know where I can get some gourds? I'd love to get martins. They remind me of my granddaddy. So I brought him to the house. I had a few natural gourds laying around and gave him to him. He went and put them up. And I told him about 4 times before he left. I said, do not. I said, you've got to put up a predator guard. You've got to put up a predator guard. Finally, the last time he said, okay, I'll put one up. Nobody else has them but you, but I'll put one up. Well, about a month ago, he sent me a picture of about a 5-foot-long gray rat snake caught in his bird netting. So if he had not done that, He has 8 gourds full of martins. He put up 8 gourds, he got 8 gourds full of martins. Had he not done that, next year the birds that survived his colony, when they came back, they weren't gonna go back there. They'd come to my house. Mismanaged and unmanaged purple martin colonies are great for people like me because I'm always full. And full is a statistical number. I'm never gonna have 162 pair and 162 gourds just because of competition between males and stuff like that. I have actually had 105 pair and 102 gourds one year, but that's because several of the gourds got used the second round when the late SYs came in. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, but you're saying that the majority, like, say I hatched 150 birds and 5% came back, the remaining 95% would come to my area.
They're gonna come to your area, yes.
Be within my county or something.
They're gonna be in your circle. So yes, you're helping your local martin population by being a purple martin. Yes, sir.
You say you do frequent nest checks. Do you do frequent nest checks alone by yourself or with a team member or a helper?
I always beg somebody in my house to help me.
My next question, what kind of tricks, ideas do you have right during fledging season to prevent frequent premature fledging or spook fledging by doing a nest check?
That's simple. I don't.
Yeah, so you just
I stop.
stop, okay, so you have a gap in your data?
I know how many I had 2 weeks ago. I know how many eggs I had. I have no idea what I'm gonna have at the end of the year, and I don't care. If that makes, I don't mean that to sound ugly.
Well,
The PMCA, if you participate in their Project Martin Watch, the PMCA is great. I'm not saying, but I tried to do that my second year. I tried to follow it to the letter. I tried to follow their stuff to the letter. I knew I had nestlings that were 24, 25 days old, but it was the day I was supposed to do a nest check. So I started lowering my gourd rack. I only had 2. Started lowering my gourd rack. And 3 nestlings came out of 3 gourds, and all 3 of them landed in the hayfield, and I couldn't find them. I was sick. Now there are people that keep letting them down until every bird's fledged, but those are the people that do nest checks every 2 days, every 3 days. Their birds are used to it. I'm lucky to do 1 a week. I try to do 1 a week, but I only do them for about 5 weeks. I don't start doing nest checks until I start seeing green leaves carried. I start about a week later. And then I do 1 a week until I know my oldest ones are about 20 days old, and I stop. Now I can start back if you keep good enough records, and I don't. If you keep good enough records, you know when your birds are gonna fledge. You'll know if it's, you had 1 nest fledge, you got 1 that's not due to fledge for 10 more days. When those fledge, you can do another nest check without endangering the spook ones.
but you also miss the chance of finding, like you say you do, to keep an eye on, prevent problems, catch problems early.
Yes,
You run the risk of having dead animals in there.
yes,
You run the risk of missing cat eggs.
yes,
You run the risk of a lot of things that just eyeballs will fix.
yes. You do, there are risks to what I do, but the reward is I don't have premature jumpers that I lose. And to me, it's not worth the risk. I'd rather have the 4 or 5 that were real close to being ready to go than missing a capped egg. And that is, you're entirely right. It is possible. Capped eggs happen. For those of you who don't know what a capped egg is, when the embryo develops, it has a tooth on the end of its beak. It's called the egg tooth. The round end of the egg is where the air cell forms. When the embryo gets ready to hatch, it pierces the air cell with its pipping tooth, and then it makes a circle around the top. The cap comes off. Okay, when that cap gets on top of another one and caps it, that's called a capped egg. The embryo in that egg doesn't have enough strength to pip out through 2 eggshells, so the embryo dies. So that's what a capped egg is and why you want to eliminate. You have to pluck the cap off.
you made a comment one day on Facebook or somewhere that a capped egg is not a capped egg unless it's capped on the round end.
That's right. If
So-
if you find an egg that's got a cap on it in a nest, but you see a round end and the capped end of the round end, don't worry about it, because if it caps the pointy end, it's not hurting anything, because the embryo's coming out of the other end of the egg, coming out of the round end, not the pointy end.
Because those eggs are fragile, it's better not
They
to
are very
handle them
fragile.
if you can
They
help.
are very fragile. I have broken them before, trying to manipulate them, trying to put more nesting material under the bottom of them because they get down on the bottom of the gourd. I don't touch them anymore unless I have to, because it makes me sick when I break a purple martin egg. So. Any other questions? Don't be shy. All right. Yes.
I want to put this or thought. I'm also having some problem with the house rent. I call them stick rent, cause they just fill everything up, Bluebird house and everything. The male, builds 2 or 3 nests, and the female choose. But, there's a slight problem, not bad,
Yes.
but I keep them tore out. And leave the Bluebird house lid open, well then they may move to a gourd.
Right.
And,
How close?
I actually had a titmouse built in one this year.
How close are your gourd racks to trees?
Oh,
Because
they're 100 yards.
really, I've never had a house wren built in a gourd. I don't know. My site's wide open. When I mean wide open, I mean wide open. I don't know. House wren, I know they do build dummy nests, and I know they're bad about pecking holes in eggs. So
And also, when you're checking them out, watch out for wasp nests.
yes, by all means, if you don't have an active colony, and you got 1 or 2 pair or 3 or 4 pair, you start checking nests, make sure you don't have a wasp nest in there, because they don't like, wasps aren't very tolerant of nest checks. Martins are pretty tolerant, but. Any other questions? All hearts satisfied.
Somebody need to get the gun and kill this hawk. That's what they're doing out here.